Hello! Welcome to ARCHLine.XP 2022 Intermediate course. The intermediate course will consist of 8 lectures, and the first lecture will be Material Management. Let's get started. I open the program, then click on Open Project and select Workshop Start File. I will work in this project. I will create material from color, texture, and I will also download different materials from the internet and from the showroom. Let's start by creating a new material from color. I can do this by selecting Materials menu from the Design Center, clicking on the cogwheel icon and choosing Create New Material. Under Texture Color Properties, I click on the current color. In the pop-up window, I can choose from different color charts or create custom color based on RGB components. I'm going to choose the raw color chart and search for the raw 7031 blue-gray color. Here it is. Here I can set the different properties of the material, but for this example I will not change them. I will only adjust the render style, as I know that I will use the new material as a wall color. Then name it. It will be RAW 7031. I save it to the library, to the category of colors, to the RAW subcategory. The material is placed in the selected folder and I can simply drag it onto the 3D model. To do this, I switch views. I place it on the wall like painting or grouting. In the following, we will see how to download materials from the ARCHLine warehouse and from the 3D warehouse. We can also work with ready-made materials in the Design Center's material library. There are many categories and subcategories to choose from. If we need other materials, we can go to Interior ARCHLine warehouse where we can find 3D models and materials from various manufacturers. I will choose Robitex Home Deco and within this I will download the Denver A304 material. I click on the Download button. The program will show us the name and the location of the newly saved material. It will be under the category Fabrics and within that the subcategory Curtains. In this case, I don't even have to search the library. The program loads it immediately, and I can change the curtain material with the replacing one material with another on this object command. I right-click on the curtain and select the Find Material command so I can look at the material properties. Scrolling down, I see that the transparency is set to 13%, but since this is a blackout curtain, I set it to 0%. It changed immediately. Now I will also create a new material, but this time from texture. I will download it from the JAB's website. I'm going to open the JAB website and look for Mirage wallpaper. I choose the material. Let's look at its properties. Pay attention to the length of the repeat value on the web page. This will be the width of our pattern, 610 mm. I click on the download button. I choose Image of Pattern Repeat for the media type and Office format, which is 900 pixel for the media format. It is not recommended to choose a too large resolution because it only will increase the project size. Clicking on the download button will display the image. I then have two options. One is to save it to the computer, the other is to copy it to the clipboard. From the clipboard, I can insert it directly into the program. This is the method to choose if the image does not need to be edited. Since this is a seamless pattern, I choose to copy. I go back to the program and under Design Center, Materials, I choose to create a new material. Clicking on the texture, then Paste command will display the material. I set the render style, which will be a wall since I'm applying the material as wallpaper. I need to specify the width of the seamless pattern, which is 700 mm. I'm going to specify this while turning on the Keep Aspect Ratio option. This will change the height and the width values proportionally. When I'm done with that, I'll name it. Let it be Jeb Mirage. And I save it to the wallpaper, Other category. It is in the Materials library. I drag it onto the wall behind the couch and place it with the S-Painting option. Let's take a look at how we can download textures from the 3D warehouse. From the 3D warehouse we can download in SKM file format, which includes a raster image file, a thumbnail, and additional content that describes the area the image should cover. We can download this SKM file directly from the 3D warehouse. Choose Interior 3D Warehouse command, then select the Direct Download option. Log in with your Trimble account or create one if you don't have it. On the main page, type Wood, and then select Materials. Choose the wood material you like and download it. Name it and save it in the appropriate category. It has now been added to the Materials library. Use the drag and drop method to apply the new material to the kitchen front. Then select the replacing one material with another option. The program has replaced all the grey kitchen fronts with the new wood material. Let's see how we can adjust the properties of materials. We have seen that when we create a material, we can set its properties and physical characteristics, but we also have the option to modify these later. Let's switch views. Let's talk about render styles, which are a great help when setting the display properties or materials. You can find the render styles under Design Center Render Styles. There are 21 preset render styles here. Let's try out a few on the dining table. Currently, the glass render style is applied. Drag the mate render style on it. In 3D, you will immediately how the texture appearance changes. Now drag the mirror render style on it. This one is very reflective, not transparent. Let's revert it to the original glass render style, which is slightly reflective but transparent, just like glass in real life. Let's continue with how we can edit a pattern downloaded from the internet that is not a seamless pattern. But first, let's discuss what a seamless pattern is. A continuous, endless pattern that shows no square-like repetition in either direction. A pattern is actually a small image that, when repeated one after the other in each direction, forms a seamless pattern, and you can fill the available space with it as long as you repeat it. Because the pattern is repeatable, you don't see the image being interrupted anywhere. We can only create a seamless pattern from material that contains the full repetition period, such as that we downloaded from JAB website. I open the intermediate course texture folder. I will use this dandelion pattern. I drag and drop it into ARCHLine into Design Center. The material properties are then displayed. Here are the dimensions. I turn on keeping the XY ratio option. Then for the width I enter 610 mm. I enter the name and save it to the wallpaper Other subcategory. I switch to 3D window. I look for the material. Here it is. I drop it on the wall behind the sofa with the painting option. To see it better, I set the consistent color mode. We can see the aforementioned square repetition on the wallpaper, so this is not a seamless pattern. But thanks to the program, we can turn it into one. Let's go to the floor plan view and see how we can edit a seamless pattern. From the Design Center, I drag and drop the material onto the floor plan and then insert it as a raster image. You can only create a seamless pattern from an image that contains repeats. I click on the image and choose Edit, Make a seamless pattern from the local menu. By clicking on one of the sides of the pattern, the program completes it into 3x3 pattern. Move the cursor till the pattern is overlapping. I repeat it with the other side, then press Enter. The seamless pattern is ready. I resave the material. The material used in the project is immediately overwritten, which we can see in 3D. However, it is worth looking for this material in the Design Center in Model Library and then copying it back to the category. The original texture will then be also overwritten. What if we find some material on the internet that doesn't contain this repetition period, and we can't use this seamless pattern command I just showed you? Let's activate the floor plan view, and from the texture folder, I now select the Abstract 2 image and drag it onto the floor plan. After placement, I select Edit, Make Seamless Pattern Quad option from the local menu. In this case, the program will mirror the pattern in both X and Y axis direction, resulting a repeating pattern. It looks like this. I also save it to the wallpaper category as a material. Then I switch to 3D view and drag it from the Design Center onto the wall. This created a very interesting pattern. I'll undo the last step to see the previous wallpaper. In the following, I will show you how to resize and rotate textures in 3D. A texture is globally mapped to a surface in the world coordinate system, independent of the object coordinates. This means that the texture does not stick to any object, but is fixed to the global origin, so that the texture remains untouched by the transformation within the object and does not move relative to the global origin. However, if the object is moved or transformed, the textures move with the geometry of the object. It is possible to graphically resize and rotate the texture by selecting the surface in the 3D model. This option will be shown on the kitchen cabinet. I am switching to Kitchen View 2. We will replace the darker material with a lighter color. I right-click on the material and choose Find Material. Using the drag and drop method, I apply it to the front, then select Replacing one material with another option. I exit the command. To resize in 3D, select Interior, Material, Scaling Texture command. I click on the one I want to scale. Then use the orange edge markers to set the desired size. I press Enter to confirm. We can see that the texture has become smaller. To rotate it, right-click on the texture, then choose Modify Texture, Rotate Texture, rotate 90 degrees clockwise. Done. Now let's see how we can color the material and texture and what the difference is between the two. If we check the material properties, there is an option to enable Merge with Color. Turn it on, then select the desired color. Later you can easily turn it off if you don't need it anymore, as this is a property of the material and doesn't affect the texture. There is also the option to color the texture. Let's see how. I'm going to activate the floor plan view and find the Dandelion seamless material, then make a copy of them to try out more colors. Let's see how we can add color to the texture. I click on the first image, then from the local menu I choose Edit, Recoloring Image. The program notes that this function will add a color correction to each pixel of the image and that we should choose a color. Add different colors to all three textures. In order to use them, I have to save them to the library as well. I click on the first one, then the local menu, Save as Material. Name it, then save it. Let's save the other two in the same way. Let's go to the 3D and replace the wallpaper to the first color version. Find the newly created colors in the Materials library of the Design Center, then place them on the wall like painting or grouting. Check out the other versions. Now I will create a material with a transparent background. I'll activate the floor plan view and select and place the image Polyna 44 Anthracite Sable from the Textures folder. First, we will create a transparent patterned curtain, then a wall sticker. For these transparent parts, the alpha channel used in the program helps. From the local menu, I choose Edit, Make a Picture Transparent command. I use the eyedropper to specify which color of the image should be transparent. In this case, I specify the gray color. I need to specify the level of transparency. Then hit OK to accept and press Enter. Save it as a material to the library. Enter the necessary data. In the pop-up window, I can set its properties. For now, I'll just enter the width and height, 200 mm and 350 mm. I accept it. I switch to 3D view. The materials has been created. I look for it in the category I just entered. I place it on the curtain using the drag and drop method. I choose replacing one material with another on this object. The transparent curtain is finished. The next transparent material we will create will be a wall sticker. I will place this on the floor plan too. From the texture folder, I select Abstract Wood. In the local menu, I choose Edit, Make a Picture Transparent. I need to specify which color should be transparent. I choose white. In the pop-up menu, I can set the level of transparency. I accept it and then press Enter to close the command. I save the modified image as a material. I switch to the 3D window and change the view to see the wall behind the dining table. I choose Interior Properties, Picture on the wall to set the properties of the picture. No frame will be needed, and I also disable the matting. I select the image from the wallpaper and accept the settings. With the single object, Picture on the Wall command, I can place the wall sticker with the transparent background on the wall. The next topic is surface roughness. which can be used to give materials three-dimensional depths, creating a more realistic effect. We call this bump mapping. During the procedure, a more uneven surface is created by freely modifying the direction of the normal vectors of the model, thus creating the illusion of a more complex uneven surface. These normal vectors are stored in a texture. These textures are called normal map. It corresponds to the RGB3 color of the three axes of the coordinate system, so that the blue color falls on the axis pointing towards us. Therefore, normal maps are mostly bluish. The bump map of materials can be specified in three ways in the program. The first is automatically by the texture of the material, the second is by selecting a built-in normal map from the list, or by using our own normal map texture, which we can download from the internet. I change view to place a brick texture on the wall between the kitchen and the living room. From the Design Center Building Brick folder, I choose the blockwork, drag it onto the wall. I replace one material with another on this object. Let's look at the material properties. Find Material command shows it in the side menu. I'm looking for bump mapping. For materials with texture, if the scale factor is other than 0, a normal map is automatically added, creating the illusion of a 3D effect. On the dashboard, I switch back to the realistic representation to see the changes better. Now let's see what this looks like. I'll set it to a larger value. The surface roughness must always be corrected by softness. Otherwise, a too rough effect is obtained. Specifying a surface roughness with a scale factor only makes sense on a suitable texture. On a color-based pattern, it is meaningless. Now let's try bump mapping with built-in normal map texture. Normal map texture can be used on texture-based material and on color-based material too. Let's look at the wallpaper first. I find the dandelion wallpaper, then go down to the bump mapping. If I click on the small folder icon, I find an option for automatic surface by texture and the built-in normal maps. Let's select wallpaper, splash. You can see the results immediately. I change view for a better look on the sofa. I'm going to change the fabric to cold gray. I look for it in the Design Center and drag it onto the sofa. Then place it using the replacing one material with another option. This way, I replaced all original materials. Let's look at the properties. Scrolling down to the bump mapping, I click on the small folder icon and select the ladder surface normal map. Above, instead of stretching, change the option to tile. This will show the unevenness of the ladder surface. I adjust the width and height to 800 mm. Let's set it to 400 mm so we get a fine patterned ladder surface. Let's switch views so we can make the dining chairs too. Right-click, then click on Find Material. I choose Striated Stucco Vertical. If we want to use a normal mapping downloaded from the internet, we can click on the folder next to the bump mapping and in the list choose Open File to browse it. The next topic will be color cards. For this, I'm going to switch views. The purpose of a color card is to make the color or texture selection on the 3D model easier without modifying the plan. With one click, we can display the living room in new colors. Let's see how we can do this. I click on the dandelion wallpaper that we have already used in the workshop. I click on the cogwheel icon and select Create a copy as a color card. Here I can add different materials to this color card. I name the color card Wallpaper and I add more textures. I'll use the Jab wallpaper we downloaded and the red dandelion wallpaper. The color card icon appears in the corner of the texture. I drag it onto the wall as painting. By clicking on the color card icon, I can choose which material I will use from the pop-up menu. The change will immediately appear on the 3D. Let's make a color card for the sofa as well. I'll do a material search to find the current material. I save a copy of this as a color card by clicking on the gear icon. Let's call it sofa. Now let's add textures. I drag the color card onto the sofa, then select the replacing one material with another option. Clicking on the color card icon, I can change the fabric from the pop-up dialog. Now I would like to show you a very useful feature. This will be the color card manager. If we create different color cards, we can save different color card variations. Let's look at this in practice. I click on the home icon, go to the materials, in the model folder and click on the cogwheel icon. I select the color card manager. Here I can pair up the color cards variation and save them as a style. For the first variation, I select white dandelion wallpaper and the cold grey sofa fabric. I click on the gear icon and save it as a new style. The second variation should be Jab wallpaper and textile linen too. I save this too. The last one will be the red wallpaper variation and the leathered brown fabric. I save this as variation 3. When we generate the model, we can see the last style created. I go back to the color card manager and select Other variation. Let it be the first one. After regenerating, it will appear on the model. These variations can also be found in the Styles menu. The last topic we cover is the management of PBR materials in ARCHLine.XP. PBR materials open a new world to realism. PBR mean physically based rendering and allows us to simulate existing materials as realistic as possible under all lighting conditions. PBR materials are based on texture maps, and the maps describe the most important material properties such as diffuse, glossy, reflective, metallic, and so on. These materials can be accessed in two ways in ARCHLine. One is from the Design Center High Quality Materials Catalog. This contains a variety of high-quality PBR materials. These materials are marked with a diamond icon. Let's look at its properties. I scroll down. We can see that we can give a material reflection, roughness, unevenness, not only with values but also with textures. This makes these materials much more detailed and realistic than the normal materials. Another advantage is that we have access to a huge, constantly growing database of these materials. I choose Interior Material Download command. It takes us to the ARCHLine.XP PBR Material Collector page, where it lists where we can download such material. Let's look at ambient CG for example. Clicking on Materials will bring up the possibilities. Here we find textures broken down into different material groups. Let's look at the wood category. I'm going to download this herringbone pattern pocket. I have several resolutions to choose from, but I recommend downloading a maximum of 2K resolution because higher ones will slow down the work. I'm choosing 1K resolution. It is saved as a zip file. I open the folder and drag the file into the Design Center. No need to unzip it. The Material Properties dialog appears where I can change any of its properties. I change the render style to Pocket and make it a bit darker. We can see the change continuously in the preview. We can adjust its reflectivity, roughness, refraction, bump mapping, and size, just like a normal material. I save it to the library under its original name. I can select it from the High Quality Materials folder or find it under Recently Created Content. Clicking on the material will bring up the wood floor texture, so it is that easy to import PBR materials into the program. This brings us to the end of the Material Management workshop. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. Practice your materials management skills until the next one. Have a nice day. Bye.